Okay. Oh my god. I just realized my camera, what it looks like. Do you see
Yeah.
the sun in the corner of my room?
hmm
Yeah, that's just a light. I should actually
You're,
probably move that, but I'm not going to because
you're getting some sun glare. You're looking like fucking
I'm a
Vanguard.
I'm a Remember when you said that you wouldn't bring it up at all? No Call of Duty. That was broken like that.
Drew literally said right before we recorded, "How long do you think it's gonna take for us to talk about Call of Duty?" Uh,
For real
yeah,
though. I was gonna say I
yeah.
look like a Michael Bay film, but
That's also accurate.
well, so
Uh,
how have you been in this past
uh,
week?
Terrible.
Terrible? Any
It was.
particular reasoning that you'd like to share, or just vibe was off?
Vibe's been off for a couple weeks now.
Damn.
I I was yeah, I haven't really talked about it much, but I've been sort of I was for like 2 weeks battling this like constant illness I couldn't really shake.
Mm.
Um, and then I had a pretty serious health scare because I I got sick one night and I was trying to get downstairs to try to get to the bathroom
Mm-hmm.
and I started falling down the stairs and I passed out on the stairs and apparently when I came to probably a couple minutes later, my grandma was like hovering over me and she thought that I was having a seizure. So, pretty a little bit of a health scare there. It ultimately we figured out it was probably just my illness combining with an adverse reaction from the medications I take.
Uh,
And I don't think I was actually having a seizure. I think I just was like blacking out and stuff.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, that was I was dealing with that for a couple weeks, and then recently the vibe's just been terrible.
Mm-hmm.
School is stressful. Everything sucks.
I can relate on such a spiritual level with the stressful school aspect.
Yeah.
If anyone has been paying attention to any part of our upload schedule, that is a
Right.
direct side effect of me having approximately a minute of free time a day. Or if I do have a day of free time, I pass out and wake up 7 hours later. And I'm like, shit,
Mm.
my entire day's wasted. So, yeah,
Yeah, you've been a busy lad.
hmm this, good fucking lord, it's like I'm tired. Still no solution. Well, I don't know what the cough is. Watch it be some grave, serious issue.
You think
Um,
we'll get a lot of views if you die on camera?
Probably. If I do, I give you permission to still upload this.
Hell, I don't know how I'm gonna get the file because you're
Uh,
recording.
I, I don't know. Well, you that's a you issue.
You're only 5 hours away. I can make the trip tonight.
Yeah,
Just collect all the files before your parents come to clean out your apartment.
yeah. Just obtain everything.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm gonna take your Scarface photo and just hang it up behind me so that you can your memory can live on in future
for
episodes.
real, the memory. Watch that be an essential part. Like a year down the line, that's like I change locations or something, and that's just always gonna be in the background now.
I
It's a
want like
permanent fixture.
no, for real, but I want like if we ever like move to the same town or get like a studio or some shit, I want like I can just imagine us on a couch doing the podcast in person, and we just have that picture on the couch in the middle of us.
In the mid, like up
Yeah.
above, or like
No, on the couch with like
it's just
uh,
separating
just-
us. It's just like
yeah,
it's a member of the cast.
yeah,
The Scarface photo or
fucking
drawing.
Drew, Adrian, and Tony Montana.
Yes, the dynamic trio. Can't never see them apart from each other. Uh, get to give a little context to why this one is going to be late.
Right.
I was on a hunting trip. That's why I was off the
Mhm.
grid. I was in our cabin, or it's like a pole barn, which is this big metal box. And when you're in the box, believe it or not, it blocks cell phone signal completely.
Mhm.
And that's where you are 80% of the time because you don't want to be running around outside. Sorry. You don't want to be running around outside, um, scaring all the potential game. So, yeah. That's where this is late to give context. Do you need to go somewhere real quick?
No, I just had to inform my family members that I'm recording and politely request that they do not start yelling upstairs like they were just doing.
Oh, well, I'll cut that little bit out.
All right, wonderful.
So yeah, that's what I was. That's why this one will be a little late. Just a little
Right,
context, not
right.
because of school this time.
I assume you were going with like family, like father.
Yes, no, I was
Yeah.
not alone in the woods for a weekend. I was with
Oh,
my dad.
I don't know what you do in your spare time.
I was actually hunting Bigfoot.
Right, right. And did you get any footage for us to upload?
uh, no, you know,
That's unfortunate.
it all got, always I was always panning the camera not fast enough, Never,
Yes,
never.
right.
I saw him with my eyes a couple times, but
And for some reason, your like modern day cameras can only like pick up 140 ping or like 140p video quality. So
yeah. When I try to upload all my footage, right, whenever Bigfoot's on screen, all of a
mm,
sudden the video corrupts, which is crazy, right? So I have to cut it
that's
out. It's
wild.
insane.
That's wild.
Yeah.
We've talked about it while we're on the topic, and I know we've talked about it briefly before.
Bigfoot?
No, but going and like doing like ghost hunts
Yeah.
and shit. I was looking up like potential places, and I really want to like just I want to go down south because there's a ton of places in like Texas, Louisiana, Georgia that are just like haunted,
Yeah.
and I want to make a trip out of that where we go down south and we just travel across a couple states and just go to as many haunted places as possible. Get
That
some sweet
is
content.
that'd be so cool. I even
Eat some
I just
food.
love haunted locations.
Yeah.
The creepy vibes they give off. The only issue, I think we were discussing this in like one of our chats or something, like Discord or something, but we
Mhm.
need someone who actually thinks ghosts are real.
Yeah.
Because it would be, because I'm not like, oh no, I'm sitting in a house alone in the dark. God forbid. Like I
Yeah.
won't find, the reactions will be pretty mundane. Um, but even then, like I think it's just a fun concept. It's always
Right.
cool. I've done ghost video things twice, which is weird that I've done it that much. So
hmm
I've experience with the art of pretending to be scared.
I want. We'll have like a series or whatever, like a little limited series where we record some content at these haunted locations. But I want to sit down in a super supposedly haunted place and just record a full on podcast.
That's what I wanted to do uh, during the run of the LTAS podcast, the discontinued, almost like prequel or something to this.
Right. Right.
We had an idea that we almost did of going to. There's like a winery near my friend's place that has like haunted tours, is supposedly haunted, and they know someone. And we were like, "Can you get us in the basement? And we'll just sit down, have a laptop, and then the mic in the middle, and we do a podcast in there, just
hmm
in on the floor of this pitch black room with only like the light of the laptop or like a candle or something illuminating us, and just normal podcast episode with obviously like bringing up like those type of topics, but
Yeah.
um I have had that idea before, and it is a fun concept to think about. Just a normal episode, but it's in the
Yeah.
scary location.
Yeah.
You could get a couple shots of like establishing shots for the intro. Could be pretty cool. Yeah.
Dude, that's now I'm just thinking of like in the future when we're so like because right now this is the jankiest fucking thing
Yeah.
imaginable. But like just thinking the future when we have like a studio and we have like a camera crew and when we have like actual intros, like cinematic intros to our videos and
It'd be
shit.
so sick. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's awesome.
Yeah,
I
that's the dream.
I want yeah. I mean I'm gonna that's you gotta set your sights on goals, and that's a goal for this.
Look forward into the future.
Like we're yeah, like we're having fun and I enjoy doing it, just even as is. but like I want to work towards something like that.
Yeah, it's part of the fun of stuff like this is the progression that inevitably happens, whether or not you grow as, say, an audience, but even without that, like as a creator, because as they can see on screen, we can't, but they can see it looks different now.
Right.
Bring that up. It's orange.
It's orange.
It's orange now, and that's an example. While it's just a simple like image change, it's an example of forward progress, and that whole idea is very fun. Is like that's one of the best parts of like doing something like this is progression in some aspects. So
Right.
yeah, so it's gonna be
And
pretty epic.
I've tried out like I've had a couple YouTube channels of my own that I've done in the past. I think my first one that I did was like I was playing a lot of like horror games,
Yeah.
and then I did a second one after that where I was doing like Call of Duty stuff. Um, and like those were it was short-lived and very isolated where you didn't get to see long-term progression. And like already this is episode 12,
It's
so
12
we've done
weeks.
it. That's 12. Yeah, that's
We have
12
not
weeks.
missed a week. We've been late, but we get one out each week, no matter what. It's been 12
Right.
weeks, which is
It's
weird to
been
think about.
3 months
Yeah.
that we've been doing this, and that's the longest time I've ever devoted to like a piece of content creation, like a channel or anything like that. So already looking at the progress that's been made from day one to now, and all the different things that have changed, and how more comfortable we've become talking
Hmm.
to the audience as well as each other. It's cool to see that already, and it's just imagining like us still doing this years down the line and seeing how far we've come is a really cool thing to think about.
While you were talking,
You were not paying
no, I
attention to me
was,
at
I
all.
was, I was talking
I
about
get
like
it.
progression and stuff, right? But I remembered thinking you said this is like the longest. This episode is if we get if we get one more out, guys, we could do it. I believe if we go after the next one, so next one and the one after that, we will have officially surpassed the Shamblecast episode count. We have
Is that your highest of them all? Or
13
oh,
episodes is the max for Shamblecast, which is
yeah.
the discontinued one that I was doing.
Hmm.
So this will be my official longest ever YouTube thing that I've done. Will be this channel.
How much did you do for the LTAS?
Like it's like 7 episodes, I think. Not a lot. We did those in person, so we had to find a time to meet up. It was very much a big ordeal.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's so cool to think that we've been doing it this long.
Yeah.
And we're 2 people now, 3, putting out at least 2 videos a week. And with our schedules, it's tough. It's pretty tough, and
It,
it's like
it,
we're doing it though, and I feel proud. I feel
yeah.
proud.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's. I mean, crossing our fingers. The very very soon, like very very soon, we will be starting our new series.
Very
And
soon, as in the night we're recording this, one of them will go out. You
hell
won't
yeah,
see it till
they will
that'll be
already
the
see.
past. That'll yeah.
Hopefully. Yeah.
But yeah, no, yeah.
But finally, it's so good to be able to say in this episode we have new shit coming, and
And
for it
it's
to be
not a
like
lie.
it's not a lie. We're
No,
not bullshitting now.
we announced the football thing before we started it,
True.
and
True.
we've been doing that every week. So I think we're good. But yeah,
Yeah. Hey. Yeah, it's really cool to see. We're gonna have 3 series going, 3 months of doing this. It's really really cool to see the progress we've made already, and how much. I mean, I've thoroughly enjoyed doing this so far.
hmm
I assume you are enjoying this as well. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be doing
I
it.
fucking hate it. No. Yes, I very much enjoy it. It's my highlight of my week is looking at the uploads and going, I'm part
Yeah.
of that.
I was looking at fucking analytics on the account.
It's
Like
that's addicting. Even if they're like
it
nothing
is.
special, it's like ooh data.
Yeah, and I was like, "Ooh, we had 25 views on October 5th.
Ooh,
Wow, holy shit,
sheesh.
that's so cool." Yeah,
Sheesh.
25 views. We averaged like 10 views a video, and it's like, I don't care. It's fucking awesome. I love it.
Yeah, it's like I love looking at the we grew like 2 subs one day. I think it was because someone tweeted something. I don't remember exactly who did what, who
It
tweeted
was
what.
my birthday, and Sil tweeted out, um, "Wish my friend happy birthday" or whatever, and then I replied under it, "Hey, for my birthday, go subscribe to my YouTube channel." And two people did that. Okay, sure.
I was like, yo, I got really excited. I'm like, look at that. It's double
Yeah,
digits. Yeah, so
yeah, it's awesome.
it's the hardest part of any channel is the first 3 digits, right? Up to like 100. Because that's when it like you like the algorithm and all that, it doesn't promote you as much because of things like watch time and all that, which you can only
Mhm. Of
develop when you get higher audience numbers and all that.
course.
And so it's like this is the slowest part of any build, but there's still forward progression. We haven't stagnated yet. Let's hope it
Keep it
doesn't.
going. Let's keep it rolling. Yeah.
Let's hope shit don't stop.
Yeah. That's why I like too. I'm really excited for us to start putting out some gaming content as well.
Hmm.
I think it's a lot more, it's going to be a lot more bite-sized than the podcast. Obviously, it's not going to be full hour-long videos.
Say bite
And there's,
sized. I think the first episode of the gaming thing we're putting out is 20 minutes.
yeah,
Bite sized.
that's very much, I think 20 minutes is like a very good length for something like that. Because it's like, it's long enough that you're still getting content without being so long that you're like, I have to kind of schedule something
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Like, I have to, like, if I'm going to sit down and watch a podcast episode back, it's like, okay, I'm going to be sitting at my desk for a couple hours. I can go ahead and put this on and like dual screen it and be going over it. I don't watch as, do you watch do you ever watch our content back? Like
Um,
beyond just watching it when you're editing it?
I since I'm the one usually editing it, not really because I've seen it because I
Yeah.
edited it. For the podcast, if I know we don't need to cut anything, I watch a bit to make sure our audio is good, and then I just jump to the end, put the outro, jump to the beginning, put the intro because I edit it like really soon after we recorded, so I know what we produced is good. I don't need to like re. It's not like it's been sitting in like a backlog and I need to go through the library and start editing. So usually I don't really watch it because I just had that conversation. So it's
Mhm.
not as
Yeah, yeah.
interesting to me. But sometimes if it's like I that like that was funny, I want to relive that bit, and I'll go
Mhm.
and look. Um, the one I go back to and watch the most, not watch but like skim through, is episode 2 for sure. Um, Arguably my favorite so far, even though it was the second episode.
Which one is that one?
Space Nazis. The
Right,
Mars
right.
one.
That's a good one.
I think it's arguably one of our best. It's very
Yeah,
entertaining. I enjoy it.
yeah.
Um,
Usually I like a couple that if it's an episode that is moderately memorable and like we had a good flow all the way throughout and everything, then usually it's kind of put together in my brain, so I don't watch them back. But if
mhm.
it's an episode like last episode, which was the deep episode or whatever,
Yeah.
like I don't remember much from that episode. I think a lot of it, like the first half of it for me was a little forced because I don't think I was feeling that great that day.
Yeah.
And like the second half of it is just like that's when we finally got rolling a little bit, but the topics were a little deeper and a slightly more serious. And I didn't commit it to memory as well.
Yeah.
So on episodes like that, I'll go back a few days later and just watch the episode back through to be like, did I say anything dumb? Yeah, what is there anything important that I should remember from this episode?
Yeah. Um, there are a few episodes that we've put out that like I'm like finished watching it or like editing it, and I'm like looking back at it and I'm like, while it felt good when you're recording, the watch experience could be better.
Hmm.
And I think that's because a lot of times we lack context. We'll
Right.
say a lot of things that like make sense to us, and then when you go to like outside that perspective, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And when it's a constant flow, it feels good when you're recording, but watching it is kind of tough. There's no stopping points. And it's so weird. We're talking about this in an episode of the podcast,
Yeah. Yeah.
behind the scenes. But
Gotta
like
keep
looking
it
back at the Mars episode, it's a little, just a tad bit more segmented, which makes it
moving.
easier to like, ah, this topic. Oh, now they're talking about this. There's less of a drastic flopping around of all random
Right.
shit. But I don't know. We're 12 episodes in. We're working on it.
Right. And I think it's we have to find that balance because early on it was definitely more segmented because I think we were going into it like we have to have topics that we can talk about so that there's no dead air, and it became segmented because it was segmented in our brains as we were going into it.
Yeah.
And so many episodes since then have been like you'll just message me on Discord, be like, "Hey, you want to record? Like, you ready to record?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I can record."
Yeah.
And we have like I have nothing in my
Yeah.
brain going into
Nothing at
this,
all.
and we just talk, and it's good to have both sides. The
Yeah.
segmented is good to make it easier to watch and easier to digest, but you also want that natural flow so it feels real and genuine, and you can tell that this is just two people talking and having a genuine connection, and it's not just like a robotic sort of
Yeah.
interview style. Um, but yeah, like you said, we're 12 episodes in. We will find that balance a little bit,
Yeah.
but we're still learning, still developing as we go into this. Uh, I mean, you're an old hand at this. You're 4 podcasts deep, right? I have never done a podcast before other than this one, so
Yeah. And I've done a couple
pick it up.
styles too.
I'm you're the veteran here. You should be imparting wisdom.
I think it's a side effect of our time constraints.
Yeah.
When we started, it was summer, and all I was doing was working. Um, which work took a lot of time, but like there was no work I had to take home. So it
Hmm.
was like, I'm out of work. I can do whatever I want until I go back to work. I don't have to do other things, which is now like I have to go meet up with people, do this. I
Hmm.
wouldn't say homework. I don't really have homework anymore, but things I have to do. Um, and it's a side effect of like, okay, let's get an episode in instead of like
Yeah.
when I was in the summer, even if we didn't prepare like before, like okay, this is what we're going to talk about. It was like I was thinking about stuff throughout the week, like oh, that'd be a good story to tell. Oh, that'd be
Hmm.
I can't even put that thought. I'm like just so busy
Yeah.
because like the ideal situation is that reminds me of a story that happened to me recently. That's a
Hmm.
nice easy segue into a topic. One, we're at college students. Our lives are very boring. And two,
Yep.
we are busy as fuck and we can't think about anything but work and school and all that.
Yeah.
It's a perfect storm of boring. So,
Yes.
it's tough. It's tough, but we bring it. We bring it.
Yeah. So, speaking of which, speaking of stories and things that it reminds me of,
Look at that.
uh,
Look what you're doing right
look at that. Look at that. Hey.
Hey.
All right. So we talked about in a prior episode about how I started doing some assistant coaching and videographer work for the football team at my college. So I went there to one of the practices to record the practice, and I normally record O line, D line drills, amongst other things, but I do that every practice.
Hmm.
So I go over towards where the offensive linemen are getting ready, warming up, doing like sled pushes and shit. And I remember one of them comes over to me and he's like panting a little bit and kind of hands on the hips. And he jokes that he's like, "Hey, you give me the camera, I'll give you the pads. Let's switch for a day. Like I'm done." And that was like making me think of like, because I'm so out of shape now.
Hmm.
But I
Same.
used to be big into sports. I played baseball for a couple years. I played football for a couple years. I did track from 4th grade until 10th grade. Uh, you but I've always loved football, and I've always like, or I've always, yeah, football, but sports in general, and I've always like wanted, like kind of had that little want of like, oh, I think it'd be really awesome to be a pitcher in the MLB, or to be a quarterback in the NFL.
Hmm.
Um, did you growing up have any aspirations for that? And did you, I know you did cross country, but other than that, did you play any other sports, or did you even take cross country super seriously, or what's that whole situation like?
Okay, so when I was a wee lad, I played soccer and baseball, like through the rec stuff. So like Parks and Rec baseball, Parks and Rec soccer. Everyone gets a trophy at the end, that kind of BS.
Mm. Right.
Um, and I did it because like every kid did it. I wouldn't say I was passionate. There was a lot of videos and images of me in the outfield of baseball plucking little dandelions, right? And I was always either the goalie or like those two people who stand next to the goalie in soccer, which means,
Right.
and our team was relatively good, I remember, which means I didn't do anything.
Right.
So I wasn't passionate about it. It was more like I just did it, and then I like did this thing where I was like, I'll take a break this year. I'll do it next year, and I never came back.
Right.
Because I wasn't passionate. I wasn't having fun. I mean, I was having fun, like being with like a group of kids and playing
Mm.
games essentially. And then they had the CC's meal at the end of the year and celebration right after the final game, and
Mm.
that was cool and all. But I mean, I was never passionate. I never had aspirations to be like a sports person
Mm-hmm.
because I was a big fucking nerd. So uh, I pretty much stopped in like elementary school and then went through school up until middle school. And in middle school, I started cross country. Believe it or not, people who don't know me and just watching this, I used to be as thin as a rail. So I was kind of built for it. I was tall and lanky. I had a runner's body, and if I were
Mm.
to lose weight, that's what would happen. I would reduce to that. I'm not some ripped man under all this. Uh, and I was doing cross country, and in middle school, it was like I did it because I was like kind of peer pressured by my mother. And then
Sure.
I was like, oh, I met all my friends through it. So that's where I met like Sil, my friend Ollie, a lot of people through that. Then I kept doing it all the way through middle school. And then I did high school cross country. And freshman or sophomore year of cross country is when I was in my peak physical condition. I was pretty like sport boy at that point.
Word
Believe it
boy,
or not,
yeah.
I wasn't that good at cross country because I was in my peak physical condition isn't peak cross country physical condition. Everyone has their limits, but I was at my peak physical condition. I was in cross country still. I was trying at that point, and then I tried up until about junior year, and then I was like I got the senioritis before I was even a senior. I was like, I'm out of here. I don't want to be here anymore. So I
Right.
started not doing it as much. I had a runner's appetite, which led to this
Mm.
because I stopped after senior year. Um, and senior year, I was not trying very hard. It wasn't a big deal at that point. It was like, I'm just doing it because I don't want to be that guy who quits.
Mm.
So technically, I think I got like some special, like they put me in the yearbook as like the people who did it all 4 years and something like that. There's like a title for that. Um, and yeah, that was my only sports aspirations. I've never like had any dreams of being good runner, baseball man, soccer boy. I never had these. I never had these grand goals because I wasn't a
Dude,
sports guy.
the
So
fucking adventures of baseball man and soccer boy.
baseball man and soccer boy. I broke
Mm.
almost broke my finger. That's why I quit baseball. I quit it before I
Mm.
quit soccer. So a pitch hit
Right.
my finger.
I Soccer was my first sport I started playing, and
Most kids.
I quit that after a couple years because when I was like, I think I was 9. I'd been playing it for a couple years at that point, and I broke my ankle
Ooh,
on the field,
that hurts.
and I was like, "Fuck this, I'm done." No, no fucking. And it's weird because like I broke my ankle then, and I broke my other ankle later on down the line, and I still did track for like so many years, which is just purely running basically.
Hmm.
So it makes no fucking sense, but that was my athletic progression. And then I moved to Liberty and met all of you and didn't feel like doing sports anymore. So
That
I
sounds
stopped.
like we caused the sport loss. The way you worded that was
Yeah,
like, I
it
met all
really was.
you, and I really just went downhill from there.
Yeah, y'all are bad influences on me.
Such a bad. I was in my peak when I met you. I was in my
I feel like
literal physical peak, I think.
I
Didn't I
feel
meet
like
you sophomore year?
it's literally the exact opposite of the joke that I was just making. I feel like I was the bad influence that like put you all downhill.
I was going downhill before I met you. Don't worry. I was. I am. I joke that I am the physical embodiment of sloth. I'm very lazy.
Mhm.
So menial work and sports and athletic things are such a taxing thing for me.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
yeah, it was a miracle I got that far in any of that. But yeah, that was my yeah.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Remember before this sports conversation, we talked about having a good flow,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
now we're like, shit.
Yeah, I'm like, well, the I keep thinking about so I watched big title name here that might get us some views if you include it in the title. I watched Squid Game recently,
Oh, Squid Game, yes.
and that's super popular now. And I watched it because it was super popular, and one of the YouTubers that I watch had tweeted out something about Squid Game, and they enjoyed it. And I stayed up just overnight one night and just watched it all because I got like episode one was good, and it was just good enough that I was like, yeah, I'll click next episode. So I stayed up through the entire night, like 3 nights ago, and watched the entire thing.
Hmm.
Um, I do, I'll do a little. Everybody's seen it by now, and
Yeah.
if you haven't seen it by now, it's because you are a contrarian and you don't want to watch it
Are
because
you
it's popular.
are you about to do like a spoiler warning or something?
That is what I'm doing. Yeah,
Spoiler warning. Shake the
spoilers.
arm so everyone knows.
Yes. Ugh. You normally do like tags, and sometimes you do tags. You haven't done them in a while.
No.
You used to do tags. Anyway, spoilers for Squid Game, I guess. Uh, Holy shit, it is the most anticlimactic ending imaginable. It's so bad. It's like it was 8 great episodes, and then the ninth episode is just awful. I hated it.
I don't remember what happened in the ninth episode. I don't
Okay,
remember, not
I
because I didn't. I'm not as passionate about anything about like it as you are clearly. I forget because it all melds into. I binged it like you did, so it all melds into one. So I'm like, I
uh,
don't know where it stops. Are you talking about when they introduce the people in the masks and they have the really shitty dubbing? Because
did,
that.
did you
No, no, no,
fucking
no,
watch
no, no. They dub
dubbed?
it. They dub it in the Korean. If you watch it, it's clearly a dub over them. Because in shows and movies nowadays, 99% of the time, they don't get audio from set. They come in after they film, and then it's called ADR, and you just stand in a booth and read lines while watching what you on the screens and sync the lips and all that. They clearly did that for these people as well, and the voices they chose because they were in English because some of them were like not from Korea.
Yeah,
And oh my fucking
it,
god, that
I'm
was
pretty
some of the
sure.
shittiest voices I've ever heard in my entire life. It was so bad. It was so ass, and that's when I was like taken out of it. My immersion was gone, and I was just sitting there like, this is so cringe.
Yeah, I yeah, I have a lot to talk about. So let's buckle up. So yes, firstly, because we're already on the topic of the masked people, um, I was so I loved their introduction solely because I expected something to actually come of it. I was like, okay, here's 6 rich Caucasian men who are coming to watch
A
bunch of
few of them aren't Caucasian. I
they
think
look
one of them was Korean,
they looked
or Asian of some form of Asian. I don't know which version. That sounds really bad. I don't know how to word it. They weren't Korean because the Korean representative was running the show, but
right.
it was. I think they were either Japanese or Chinese. But they were not Caucasian. I think one
There
or two of them.
there were multiple
Most,
Caucasian men amongst them.
yes,
Um, and they come in and they're obviously like assholes, and we're supposed to know they're assholes.
yeah,
And I was like, cool, I'm fine with these characters because we have this cop storyline going on. And I was like, it's gonna be fine because the cop is gonna end up like they're gonna get punished, they're gonna get killed or arrested or some shit,
yeah,
and that just never happens. There's no payoff to that, and there's no
yeah.
payoff to the cop storyline at all. Like
Literally none. Yeah.
they have the reveal that the host is his brother,
Hmm.
and then nothing happens beyond that.
Yeah, I
I don't
expected
know.
there to be like a cliffhanger at least with that plot line.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm like maybe I watch too many movies or shows and I just see things before they happen because I'm so used to what typically happens. But the moment that it started hinting that the cop's brother is not in the game, I was like, okay, so he's a part of this.
Oh yeah,
Like
same. I knew as soon as they were like
so
dropping that, I was like, oh yeah,
yeah, so that was not a surprising twist. Nothing ends up coming from the cop storyline, which is like that was the whole like B storyline of the entire thing, and nothing ever comes of it.
yeah.
Um, there's a plot hole in it in the regards that the brother had just gone missing.
Had he just gone missing? I thought he was missing for like 15 years or something.
No, well,
I might
it
be. I don't remember. So
wouldn't have been 15 years anyway because he won his game in 2015,
okay,
so it would have been 5 years before that is set. But no, at the beginning when the cop he's on the phone with his mom or whatever, and he's like, "Yeah, he hasn't like called or returned my calls in a couple weeks or some shit like that." So he had like just gone missing, and then he goes and he finds that his brother was living in this like tiny ass dorm apartment thing,
yeah,
and like that makes no fucking sense. Because why would this uber rich host of this death game be living in this tiny ass apartment? Why would he return to his basic life and be living so below his new means?
to stay hidden, maybe.
But even if that's the reason, at the very end of the show, you hear on the phone that he's still involved with it, and it makes no sense. And like, wouldn't he have disappeared before? Because it had been 5 years before he disappeared and the brother came to him.
Yeah, why did he come back to then be the host after that time jump?
Yeah,
Like was he in the his record is from 2015.
yeah,
He
that's when he
wasn't
won.
he wasn't in the game in 2015, which means he was running it. So does
No,
that mean
he won in 2015.
he was running it or was he won?
Won,
He
won it.
won. So they were like, so did they do the thing where they're like, here's the gold card, do you want to be head honcho? Like later? Is that what they're trying to imply? Like 5 years later they did that and this is his first go around?
That's what I was kind of expecting with the main guy. I'm not even going to try to
That
pronounce their
was what
names
I
because
thought.
I'm way too American.
Yeah.
But I thought that's what was going to happen with the main guy when he got the gold card, and I was like, oh, they're gonna invite him back or whatever.
Yeah.
But that doesn't end up happening. It's a completely different swerve, which
A swerve that I didn't
also
like. I hated that.
I hated that. I hated
Personally,
that so much.
because I was like tearing up during that like initial bit. I was like, shit, man, this shit's fucking bussing. And then I was like, oh, by the way, and I'm like, fuck, that is stupid.
Yeah,
It ruins everything. And he's a dick too. He's not even nice. Oh, I hated it.
it ruined that whole thing. There's another big plot hole, which is just like an editing error or some shit, because So how they structure it is the game is happening, and then like in episode 7 or whatever, when they introduce the masked people, they have that scene where the host goes into the room with the masked guy who we don't know at the time, who's like the main host or whatever, the main guy.
Yeah.
And then he like we see him put the mask down, and we don't get the reveal until episode 9, where of course it turns out to be the old man.
Mm-hmm.
Then in the flashback, the old man is like, "Why watch when I can play?" But getting the reveal of that scene where he takes the mask off and says that, when it was first shown to us, happened towards the end of the game. So the only
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, they take the mask, or was it supposed to imply that that was a flashback?
it
The
would have been
initial
like
first showing of that scene, was that supposed
it
to
would
be
have
some
been
form
like
of flashback?
it would have been like a double flashback.
A flashback with it. So if
But
it
it's
isn't
even
a
worse.
plot hole, it's a flashback within a flashback, which is stupid. And if it is a
But
plot hole, it's a plot hole.
and it's even implied that it happens when we see it, because right after we see it, the brother with the gray mask or whatever comes out, and he's like, yes, sorry, the host or whatever can't be with us at the moment." So it's implying right there with that dialogue that that had just happened, which takes place right before the bridge
It
game.
sounds like it's implying. I think technically that could be referring to that he's just not with us right now. Never technically directly says he just left. He could just be like he's not available right now, which could mean like he's been doing that shit all this time. Like if you can see it that both ways, I think, but it does wake. My initial thought was most likely because I can't remember what I was fucking.
Yeah.
The way I watch shit is just so mindless, but the like that definitely seems like a very like I see an issue there. I had a
Right.
few issues with the show overall. They do clearly have the plan to do the old guy reveal. That is planned since like episode 1 because of like hints they drop. So it makes it even more strange why they filmed it the way they did with like that like taking of the mask off scene and the way they do the flashbacks because like in episode 1 you could see like the old guy's always surrounded by people and like the snipers don't ever shoot the people near him so you could tell that they're favoring him, so like there's like hints dropped and stuff, but it's and he's number 1 too, so he's clearly he just walked on site like, so it's very strange, which makes me wonder the order they filmed things must have been like they filmed the mask scene before most things and accidentally forgot to like realize the context of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I got tons more, so I'm gonna keep rolling.
Keep going, keep
Uh,
going.
so another thing about the ending that I fucking hate. Okay, actually, table that because I have one more plot hole. Actually, two more plot holes to mention. So brief plot hole. The ending has main guy. He doesn't use the money for a year.
Yeah.
Plot hole. Uh, right like before he goes into the game, the fucking debt collectors come and they tell him that if he doesn't give them money back
He'll
within a month,
yeah.
they're gonna come take his kidneys, his eyeball, and what happened to that? He didn't use the money
Did
for
he
a
just
year.
use the money for that?
It's implied that he hasn't taken a dropout since it got deposited,
Yeah, that
other than that first 10,000 that he takes out at the very beginning.
I guess he must have scraped whatever he could together to pay them.
I think it's just them forgetting to include something about
Either
that.
forgot or went, "Oh shit. We want him to like be that stoic guy who doesn't touch the money, but we forgot we put that."
Yeah,
Let's just pretend everyone forgot because I completely forgot that was even a plot point.
yep, yep. Another big plot hole. So towards the beginning, I think it's after the first or second game, when they're feeding them and they have the food out, and the thug group, uh, I don't even remember his name, so there's no hope of me mispronouncing it because I don't even remember what it is.
He's the
But the
asshole
main
guy.
thug, the face tat guy,
Yeah.
he, him and his group of cronies cut in line again to get extra food. There's 5 of them who cut in line, steal the extra food, and at the end, there's 5 people who don't get food.
Mm-hmm.
And then the people are like, we put out the right amount, and the whole drama happens that, well, because they stole the food, now there's less for everyone else, and it starts giving people reason to kill each other, and it adds that whole element into it.
Yeah.
And then in a scene like right before the night happens, when they start killing each other, one of the
I know exactly
people
what you're talking about.
one of the people says they purposefully gave them less food to incite this sort of violence and create a new to weed out the strong from the weak. Except they didn't give them less food. They gave them the right amount of food.
The
It's just that
thugs took
some
more.
people stole some.
Yeah,
So
no, that's I remember actually realizing that while watching. I was like, I wonder if there was a translation error or something, because
yeah,
like that's just it was like 5 seconds later. It's like
yeah,
that's not what happened. I want that seems very strange though. That means they must have filmed scenes and done scenes in weird orders, because there's no way they would have done that. I don't know. That seems very bizarre how that even could come up. It's
yeah,
like 5 seconds later. It's that quick.
yeah. It's like the next scene.
It's like, why are they killing each other? It's like, because we did this. Like it's
Yeah,
that.
it's
That is, yeah. I didn't like that either. There's a lot of
right.
issues I had with the ending too.
Another issue, not a plot hole, but just something that points out how the main character is a fucking asshole piece of shit at the end. Not only he wins all this money, and I get the point of being like, oh, I'm not going to use it because it's blood money, and I don't want to be whatever.
Hmm.
Him letting his daughter like go off to America and just doing nothing is like already kind of fucked, but it's like whatever, I get it. If you're gonna sit that high on your principles, fine, whatever.
I guess also it wasn't an inherently negative thing. She was going to America. It wasn't like
Yeah,
she's
no,
forced against her will. She was okay
right,
with it. Like,
right.
yeah.
That's fine. The problem I have is him and the pickpocket girl uh had made that tearful promise or whatever. Or we're talking about it, about like as she was dying, she's like, can we promise that whoever wins this will take care of the other person's family?
Yeah.
And it's super emotional moment. And then fuckboy protagonist, once he gets out, he lets an entire year go by before he goes and helps out the girl's little brother.
He
He,
did,
he,
yeah.
he just lets him
That kid was just in the
sit in the.
foster system for a
That is
year.
it's so fucking awful. I hate that character so much.
I liked
He's
him
an
because I
asshole.
looked past that, because especially if you look past it as like just a writing error. Beyond that, he's fine, I think. But if you take into account that like error in his character, is it a writing error on the writers, or is it, or writer, I guess, or is it like that's just what he genuinely like,
Right.
that was like a thing he would do? I'm like, I don't think he, especially knowing how he was in the earlier bits, I don't think he would do that. So I think they just overlooked that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like, and the way you're criticizing it, I don't know your enjoyment of the show. I enjoyed it, even though there were parts I really didn't
I
like.
I loved it.
I thought it was great,
Yeah.
but like there are some issues that like no one's talking about.
It's genuinely like, other than the plot hole, the food plot hole, that was the first time I was like, hmm. But I kind of moved past it. I was like, you know what? It's fine. I'm genuinely enjoying this show, and I really did enjoy it so much for 8 episodes. I loved it. The ninth episode and the final game and everything that happened immediately after it, and the 1 year jump and all that stuff, the entire final episode, it just ruined everything for me, basically. I still enjoyed it, and I still see all the value in the first 8 episodes. It didn't completely like ruin the series, but it
Hmm.
was such a dog shit ending. My biggest complaint, my single biggest complaint with the entire thing, I can overlook plot holes, I can overlook your bullshit twist with the old man.
He dyed his hair red.
That is a
It
terrible
ruined it.
choice. No, what it actually is right at the end, they try to act like the friend or whatever, Song Woo. They try to make him sympathetic, and it's like
Who?
you cannot. The
Sorry, I don't remember the names because
the dude,
American brain.
the dude with the glasses or whatever, who he
Oh, the
fights at the very
total
end.
d-bag. Yeah,
Yeah, they try to make him sympathetic at the end, and it's like that's not you cannot. You cannot make him a sympathetic character.
hmm
You showed time and time again that he was a ruthless asshole. He fucking killed Ali, who was probably the most sympathetic character in the entire show.
yeah,
He fucking stabbed the one girl who I know she wasn't like presented as like a good character.
yeah,
She was easily a fan favorite, and he fucking murders her. He talks about how he's like super down to just kill the main dude. Like he doesn't give a fuck. He just wants his money and wants to go
yeah,
away. You cannot you cannot set him up like that and then at the end try to make him sympathetic and then try to like make it such an emotional moment that like oh it sucks that the two childhood friends had to it's like no, fuck that guy. He was a piece of shit throughout the entire fucking thing. You
yeah.
can't redeem him by adding like some sad music to a rain scene at the end and be like, "Oh, but isn't that so sad?" No, it's not. Fuck him. He deserved a worse death.
I think they I don't know why they wanted to, but they wanted to make him seem, yeah, like you said, less of an asshole. I don't know why, because he dies either way, which just seems irrelevant.
Yeah.
Um, and like it doesn't negate what he did. So like when he, like, so it would have been better in my eyes if he got killed by the main character and the main character then like breaks down, because then it's okay. It makes sense, right? Because it's like
Right.
he could be sad because he had to kill his friend, also because of the downward spiral of his friend, like all these moments. But then he's like, no, let's end the game. It's like, what? Like,
And it's so fucking out of nowhere too, because literally like the episode right before that, right towards the end, he was like, "Oh, he fell asleep. I'm gonna go murder him now."
yeah,
And then the very next episode, he's like, "No, I refuse. I like." He didn't even have to technically kill him. He just had to walk up to the head of the squid, and then the other guys would come in and kill him for him.
yeah,
It would have been so yeah, it would have been so much better if he either killed himself or won the game, got killed, and then he breaks down and he's like just overwhelmed by the weight of the entire situation.
yeah. I think if he won the game, it would have been more. It would have been less impactful, because then some
Yeah.
randos will just come and dome this guy. Which it's more emotional when like he has to kill his own best friend, which is like I see why they did that. But there are like, yeah, like why I also I was like when he was up in the hotel room with the old dude
Mhm.
and they were like doing that like stupid bet with like who's gonna save this person. I'm like, first of all, why did he agree to do that? There, I don't know if you seem recollecting. So when he's on this in this hotel room with the old guy
In the hotel room.
at
Oh,
the end,
yes,
at the end,
yes.
and then they do the homeless guy's on the street in the snow, and he's like, if
Right.
no one saves him by this time, I win, and there's like no stakes to this game except for this old dude inevitably dying, I guess. But like, first of all, there's no stakes because even if it doesn't, no one comes to the old dude by like 12. When the main character leaves, he could just help him himself, and he just is like, yeah, let's risk this old dude's life on a bet for like humanity. It's like, no, I'd be like, dude, what's wrong with you? Why? It's just like
No,
he's so willing. I don't know. It seemed weird to me. I didn't like it.
I definitely think it seems I see what they're trying to do with it because
Yes.
they're definitely trying to do the thing where it's like see you kept holding on to this idea that people are good and there were like people are worth trying to save and all that and like he makes the bet wanting to like ruin the main character's perception of humanity and see that everyone's just out for themselves. I get what they were trying to do, but they absolutely like did not present it in the right way at all. So it just feels so weird and like uncomfortable.
It seems out of character for that main character too, because his
It
whole
does,
bit
yeah.
was like, he'll do like some rant. He comes up with like a out of the box solution, right? So I
Right.
expected him to just leave the old dude and go help him himself, like
Yeah.
and like point
That's
up
what
at the window or some shit like I got you. And like that would have been so cool and like a good example of his good character. But he sits there and he just plays along and watches this old dude almost die. It's like
yeah,
it
no,
comes off
I
so
was like
bad.
because the whole bet was like if someone comes and helps him, I'm gonna kill you myself. I'll kill you with my own bare hands. And I was like, every time he looked up at the clock, I was like, oh, it's gonna be such a good ending if he's like, you know what, you're not worth it, and then he just leaves, goes helps the old man, and just moves on with his life. Like that would be okay. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
And then yeah, that just never happens, and it's like, what the fuck? What are we doing? What are we doing here?
It is very like I don't know.
So bad.
Maybe
It's
it would
so
seem
bad.
cheap if he did it. It's kind of like rigging the game, I guess, in an end. If he was the one, then he's not proving that society's good or anything. But like he's part of society.
Yeah,
He
it's just
exists within it, believe it or not.
you can be it's like the be the force, be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
Like that's you can do that. It's you can be a force for good. You don't have to just hope that humanity's gonna be good. You can be a positive force for that good.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they were trying to do.
That was clearly the main theme, I
And
think, is what
they just
yeah.
they just failed to try to actually, pinpoint that message at the end.
Because I see a lot of people like doing um, like annotating it like online, like looking at parts of the story and the theming, and they're trying to do a lot of like critique of capitalism stuff, and I'm like,
Right.
while that's there could be many themes to a story. I feel like the main theme is like the humanity, the good of people, that kind of thing. Because like they did the voting thing in the beginning, and they vote to quit it. Even the guy in it, the old dude who was like running the
Yeah.
show, votes to quit it. Like it's like there's like this theme of that, but I think people are it's surviving as a popular, super popular thing because it would have been it's good either way. There's holes, but I'd say it's like if I were to rate it, I'd say 7 out of 10 maybe.
Sure.
Um, but like its popularity comes from two things, and that's the shallower theme, which is the critique of like money, and then the concept as a whole, which is like death game, which is cool. And it's easy to
Right.
make Roblox versions of it.
Right.
So like
Mr. Beast can release a series just ripping off of it and make tons of money. So let's do it.
yeah. Yeah, there's yeah, that's what
It
I
very
think.
much
Yeah.
it very much is like it's a tired theme. The death game genre has been so overdone
Hmm.
that it's like it's gonna be popular no matter what because death games are popular no matter what. Um, but it really had some good moments,
Yeah.
some really good commentary, some characters that had a lot of depth to them, even ones that are like initially presented as villains, and then like the pickpocket girl who's like supposed to be like this really not good character initially,
Hmm.
and then you get that moment of depth, and it's like okay, this is a very multifaceted story. There's a
Yeah.
lot of different shit going on, and then like it takes such a cheap way to get into it because like I said, death games so overdone, so easy to make,
Yeah.
add depth to it, and that's why I really enjoyed it because I'm like death games scratch that itch, but it has depth, so I can not feel guilty about enjoying it as a film snob. And then they just drop the ball at the end, and I'm just left like, well, I just wasted fucking 9 hours of my life because this shit's
Yeah.
dog shit. The whole ending tainted my memory of it. I still think it was good. I just feel like it's just wasted opportunity, wasted potential. They're gonna make a season two.
I
I didn't want them to,
I
but
didn't
they're
want,
going.
even if it was perfect, I wouldn't want them to make season two because it seems to like cheapen it.
Yeah,
Because especially if it has like, imagine if that theme was done perfect, right? The whole like
right.
value of human life, society is an inherently good theme, or I guess can be inherently good. That whole theme was done perfect. Season two is like, oh well, that okay, like now it's gonna be a themeless action. I'm gonna end the system, destroy the, because that's clearly what he's gonna do, right? That's the whole thing is gonna be like he's gonna go end the thing, just like it's literally shot for shot Hunger Games.
Yeah,
It's gonna be the first season he plays through the games. Second season he's like in the games, but there's like messing with it. And then the third one's gonna be It's gonna be a trilogy. Calling it now. The third season is going to be almost no games. still has the Squid Game in the title, and it's going to be destroying the system. It's going to be the initial 3 Hunger Games. Guarantee it.
Yeah.
Which,
And they
yeah,
made $900 million off of it, and they're gonna keep making money off of it. So they're
oh
gonna
yeah,
just keep following down that rabbit hole of like, it doesn't need to be good. It's gonna make money,
yeah.
which is unfortunate, but that's life.
It's how all things are. I think, I think that the main, like, that's my issue with like Stranger Things. I don't know if I brought this up too. I think they should have ended it after like season 1. Like,
Yeah, we talked about it briefly.
yeah. So it's the same idea of like, even though it kind of dropped the ball in the end, what they were telling, like, it can't take away that experience I had of like that episode with the marbles. Like, that was sad as shit, and I was like, that was a genuinely great episode, and like all the other episodes coming up to it were really good. And even if it dropped the ball, I still gave it a 7 out of 10. That's pretty good. So like, I was like, it's a good piece of media and a good story with like good theming. And it's like, oh yeah, season 2, we're going to throw that. It always throws that shit out the window. It never works. It just feels like a cheapening of the experience, and it just is, it's gonna irk me, and I'm probably not gonna watch it.
Yeah, no,
But
yeah,
a lot of the actors got good. The pickpocket lady, I think that was her first ever acting job.
yeah.
Imagine,
She modeled
imagine.
that she did that as her first real acting
She's.
gig.
It's like how what's his name, the kid from Star Wars, the kid Luke,
Mhm.
when he was a young lad. How that kid was only ever known as that. She's going to be in Korea. So in Korea, I think that lady who played the pickpocket person, it's going to be that similar situation to like, I don't know, name character who's known for that character and only that character, even though they do other acting. She's gonna be like
Right.
that, but in Korea, like that version over there
Yeah.
in their like whole cinema world. And I'm like, it's like she's popped off for her first ever big acting gig, but also the
Yeah.
inevitable, you're the Squid Game lady.
Yeah. Especially with just how fucking popular it's become.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I watched that like when it came out. It was like I opened
Right.
Netflix, just came out today. I watched it a week later. It's the number one thing ever. And I'm like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
the heck?
Hey, I hope she has a great career ahead of her. She definitely became my favorite character. Um, yeah, I'm thinking about it, and I could probably talk even more about all the cinematography and the imagery and how fucking all the things I liked about it. And
Yeah.
it hurts that we're running out of
The
time because
soundtrack was good.
soundtrack's very good. I love the set design. I love the costume design.
The robot, the iconic fucking doll
The
robot.
robot's really cool. I liked
Yeah.
that. Lots of good things about it. We talked for 30 minutes about all the bad things about it. But to wrap up, we both did enjoy it,
Hmm.
right? There are plenty of good things about it. Just it's one of those things where the better it is, the more angry I get at its shortcomings because
Yes.
I'm like, it could have been so fucking good, and now it's just was good and then
Yeah.
isn't. Yeah. Well, hope y'all enjoyed a 30-minute rant
Oh, I
about
can't wait for
Squid
the
Game.
fucking line, like
Uh,
the fucking trail of broken glass they're gonna drag you through
hey,
for saying anything negative.
gotta,
Oh,
gotta keep it real with them. I did enjoy it generally.
yeah, yeah.
I loved the eight episodes, and then it Game of Thrones me.
Ooh.
All right. Well, if you made it this far, love you. Thank you so much. Just subscribe. You watched us for this long. You obviously like us. Just hit the subscribe button. What's the worst that could happen? Any final comments, my good co-host?
Hit that motherfucking like button. Hit
Hit
that
that
subscribe button.
motherfucker like.
Ring that bell.
Ring that bell. All
Oh, one
right.
day I'm gonna say that and like I'm gonna yell it.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be good. Deuces.
Deuces.